Hello friends, and welcome. My name is Popeye, and today we're playing some more Steins Gate Large O, and totally not a zero. Hello Samus. No, not the faileds. Thank you for scolding yourself for that. But yes, hello everyone. We're playing some Steins Gate. Before we get into it, I do like to say just a couple of trigger warnings in regards to this game. So this game includes some pretty serious themes such as death, torture, gore, violence, rape, any of those things against a minor. You didn't mean to send the scold? Well, you should have. Glad you scolded yourself. That's what happened now. Rape, not grape. I'm just realizing I forgot my water. Give me 1 second and I will grab that. I know someone's gonna redeem a hydrate and I won't have any water for it. Nemesis, I can't see the screen yet, but I'm totally expecting you to have redeemed hydrate. There it is. Here is your hydrate. But yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, this game has some pretty serious themes. If any of those are not something that is for you, please find somewhere else to spend today. That's more something that you would find appropriate. So no, that's not for everyone. Only because I just said someone's going to do it. I didn't say you had to do it. But yeah, last time, what did we do? Went to send 4 scolds. What did we do last time in this game? I actually barely remember. We spent some time as a bunch of different characters. We spent some time with Maho just asking why Okabe is allowed to be a tester. We spent some time as Okabe talking with AI Christina. We had this PTSD... Oh yes, I guess PTSD trigger is another one. We had a PTSD flashback from the murder while talking to Christina, and we got to our very first decision in the game, which was to shut off the phone and end the conversation with her. And that has taken us down one of the routes, and we'll be continuing with that today. Other important stuff that happened. We were talking with Mayuri's friends, and reading Steiner activated. We are still above World Line 1.0, but something did change, and we're not sure what caused it, what's changed, just that we felt reading Steiner activate. And now we've called Christina because we're supposed to go and chat with Maho and the professor about handing over our chat logs, and we're just coming to the realization of, like, crap, everything we've said's been recorded and will be given as information. And yeah, I can't remember why exactly we called her right now, and if I remember correctly, the backlog only shows for this playthrough. Yeah, we literally have no backlog. So let's see what happens. Chrissy's voice was the same as ever. We're out for first ending hype. I don't think we're gonna get to the first ending hype Well, I mean, I guess you can have hype for it. I don't think we're getting to the first ending this stream, but let's see how it goes. The only reason I can say that is, and I won't reveal what this is, but I have a date. Fair enough. You can hype up the first ending. We'll see when we get there. But yes, the very limited amount of I guess quote-unquote spoilers I have is dates for when the events will happen. So I know roughly how many days we have to go. What I don't know is this going to skip ahead a month, 2 months, or is it just going to go day by day?
それについてはさっき謝ってもらったから。私は一度許したことをいつまでもぐちぐち言う人間じゃない。
さっき謝った？
ええ。かけ直してきたじゃない。
かけ直した？俺が？
ほんの7分43秒前のことを忘れちゃったの？
俺が謝ったのか？
Okay, so we've got some differences happening here. We did not call her 8 minutes ago to apologize. None of that happened because we were talking with Maho's friends at that point in time. Chris, who was evidently telling the truth. Didn't look like she was lying, at least.
何かあったの？さっきとは別人みたいな顔してるけど。
いや、平気だ。
I didn't remember that. I remember turning off the phone, but I didn't remember anything about calling her. The Amadeus Chrysu back after that. The old me would have insisted that I was right and that she was mistaken, but now, I wasn't sure. I mean, we have chat logs for this, right? Isn't that exactly what we were gonna go do? Yeah. After all the different pasts I'd experienced and all the sadness and pain I'd gone through, even 6 months later, I was still exhausted. What had really happened, and what hadn't? What was right and what was wrong? I wasn't sure anymore. I just didn't want to think about it anymore. The past, the future, the fate of the world. I wanted nothing to do with any of it.
随分具合が悪そう。誰か知り合いに連絡するなり、どこかで休むなりした方がいいんじゃない？岡部？
なあ、クリス。一つ聞いてもいいか？さっき電話した後、俺が何をしようとしていたかわかるか？
レスキネン教授と真帆先輩とこの後待ち合わせでしょ？私について報告する予定じゃない。
Evidently, my memories matched hers in that regard.
そうか。
真帆先輩にあんたのことあらかじめ伝えておきましょうか？
本当に大丈夫だ。心配かけてすまない。
あんまり無理しないでよ。あんたと最後に話したのが私でしたなんて結果になるのはごめんだからね。
Can we not actually, if we go to Amadeus, oh, I can't even open it. I was wondering if it had the call logs. But apparently not. I chuckled bitterly and ended the conversation. I called Darutu just in case, and evidently, I really was on my way to see the professor in Maho. He also told me that almost all of the events of the last few days matched my memory of them. Which meant that even if the world line had changed, nothing had changed nearby where I could have seen it. There was no problem, or at least, there shouldn't have been a problem. It was possible that my moment of dizziness was just the result of mental illness. Experiencing those same sensations brought up my past trauma and caused my memories to get confused. Maybe that was it. The phone wave, named subject to change, didn't exist. There's no way the past could have changed. That's right. That was all. I kept telling myself this as I went to see the professor. I met with the professor and Maho in a hotel room.
それじゃあ今のところ MDS とのコミュニケーションはうまくいっているということでいいんだね、リンタロウ。
ええ。 会話に齟齬が出ることもありませんし。
This isn't the real Okabe? Is that your theory that we're not the real Okabe, that we've been replaced?
ちなみに聞きたいんだが、クリスとの距離感はどうかな？
That could be an interesting like plot twist for a game. Is the main character you play as isn't who they've been telling you this entire game? I'm sure someone's done that before. In fact, I can think of one example off the top of my head, but I'm not going to say it because actually I can think of two examples. But spoilers.
距離感というとどういうことでしょう？
話しているうちに親しくなってきているかどうかということだよ。
それは初めて会話した時に比べれば多少は。
多少？かなりの間違いじゃない？私だってクリスと話してるんだからそれくらいわかるわよ。あの子最初は8回もイルスを使われたって怒っていたほどなのに今じゃすっかりフレンドリーになっているもの。それだけ距離が縮まったということでしょ。
そうですか。それは喜ばしい。
Leskinen seemed overjoyed by Maho's words.
私は期待しているんだよ。
I'm curious why we're meeting in a hotel room and not in their actual, like, office building.
もっと言えば恋愛感情を持ってくれないか。
This seems like the kind of thing you'd want to record.
恋愛感情？
そんな声を上げることもないだろ
う。でもその AI ですよ。
AI だからだよ。
What did he
彼女
mean?
にだって感情はあっただろう。
だけどそれはあくまでもプログラム上のことで。
でもそれは人間の脳だって同じことじゃないか。
He was right. The brain ran on electrical signals. You could say it had the same structure.
今は機械に感情があるかないかなんていう命題はもはや時代遅れだよ。機械にだって感情はある。第一、エメデウスは私たち人間の脳を再現すべく作っているんだ。
Okay, we're gonna marry an AI by the end of
構
this.
造が同じで、プロセスが同じなら、その結果生み出されるものも同じなはずだろう。ならば、彼女だって恋をする可能性は十分にある。いや、ぜひしてもらいたいと思っている。
Amadeus falling in love.
おっと、こんなことを言っては魔法に恨まれてしまうかな。
Why does he look like a villain? You think he looks like... I feel like it's his smile. He's got that, like, reassuring smile that, like, people trying to con you have. He seems too genuine to be good.
教授までクリスみたいなことを言わないでください。
冗談だよ、冗談。魔法は怒ると怖い。
Also, why does he just like do this the whole time? Like, why does he have the hand on his chest? It's like he's covering up his microphone or something.
それはもう分かってます。
ちょっと聞こえてますよ。
おお、そういえば私はジュリーに連絡をしなければならないんだった。リタロ、少し失礼するよ。
The professor quickly left the room. He ran away, didn't he?
まったくクリスといい教授といい、どうして何でもかんでもすぐに色恋沙汰に結びつけたがるのかしら。
まったくだな。
Of course, that was always the type of girl she was.
あ、そうだ。岡部さん、ちょっと聞きたいんだけど、あの子がクリスが好きな言葉って何か知ってる？
Any words?
言葉？
数字でも何でもいいの。何かこう キーになりそうなものに心当たりないかしら。
So you're trying to crack her password and steal all her money.
クリ
Got
ス
it.
が設定したパスワードを破ろうとでも？
よくわかったわね。
I was right.
それってあいつの研究室の PC か何かの？
彼女の私物。家にあったノート PC よ。
Unless she willed that to you, I'm pretty sure that's stealing.
そんなものどうして君が？
形見分けでね、譲ってもらったの。クリスのお母さんに。
Hey, you know your friend who just died and was like your best and only friend? Here, just have her laptop that you can't use because it's encrypted and no one knows the password. It's the perfect thing to remember her by.
それで中身を確かめたいから、パスを解除する方法を探しているの。
You can't figure it out, it's just like her, it's a tsundere laptop.
パスがかかってるということは見られると困るものなんじゃないのか？
それはそうだけど、でも彼女アマデウスのクリスをより本物に近づけるためには、その中のデータも解析した方がいいでしょ？
Thank you for the quote, Samus. You can't figure out, it's just like her, it's a tsundere laptop.
もちろん私自身はなるべくプライバシーに関わることは見ないようにするつもりよ。
I knew what she was trying to say. She might have had some kind of diary on her computer, which described what she'd been doing during her time here. But...
悪いけど心当たりはない。
何も？
Yes, you did.
ああ、それに知っていたとしてもやっぱり俺は教えないと思う。
人には知られたくないことがあるから？
Yes.
特に PC の中身なんていうのは今やプライバシーの塊みたいなものだからな。
Daru talked about that all the time, except Daru's probably hiding very suspicious porn. And I don't think that's what Christina has on her laptop. Suspicious? Yes. Samus's seems suspicious, as well as 17 people. It's always wondering if there is a way to automatically wipe a computer's hard drive if you died in an accident. Of course, what Daru didn't want anyone to see was probably very different than what was on Christu's computer. Beyond that, it was the same idea. If 14 of those people are you, I feel like the other 3 people are Deadbeard.
そう。
She seemed really interested in the contents of the hard drive, but she didn't say anything else.
それじゃあ
Mim is one of them.
俺
Okay.
はこれで。
One Mim, 2 Deadbeards? What have we got? We've got a Rhine. It's Daru. Hey, Ocarina. What's the best color for a school swimsuit? No! So, our options are, the hell are you talking about? Who gives a crap? White. Definitely white. Any preference? Do I want to know why Daru's thinking about this at, like, the evening? The third one? White, definitely white. Okay. I mean, the first 2 options were basically what was going through my mind. I see. Excellent choice. Very few normals would pick a white school swimsuit. You might be more of a pervert than me? No! We can't be more of a pervert than Daru. Don't agree with him! No! You just picked a color at random. White's also not a color, it's a shade. Wait, what do you mean you're taking our advice? What are you... Daru, what are you convincing girls to do? Do I need to call whatever the emergency number is in Japan? No. Well, we may have just ruled. We may have just ruined some little girl's life. No, oh yes, please no. Oh my, that makes it. That looks like such a perverted sticker. Oh my gosh. Yes, please. Now just stop with the commentary. Stop whatever the heck you are doing. 911? Let's not think about that and keep moving forward. I was a little worried about Mayuri too. I got up and went, oh no, please don't let the swimsuit be for Mayuri, no! Because she's still in high school. I got up and went to leave. Mayuri, Daru's coming for you. And then I saw a small ornament that was decorating the door.
そういえば、もうすぐクリスマスか。
I remembered how excited Mayuri was.
ヒアジョーさんはクリスマスもこっちにいるのか？
ええ、こっちでまだやることもあるから。
誰かと過ごしたりは？
え？
ああ、いや、ほら、海外のクリスマスっていうと、友達みんなで楽しくパーティーでもするってイメージだ。
So, okay, I feel like I have to say something about culturally what Christmas means in Japan. So, a lot of times they'll celebrate on Christmas Eve, and it's first of all, it's a time to be spent with partners, lovers. It's a big dating scene. And the secondary would be with friends. And the reason why I'm saying this is Maho might feel like we're asking her out and just giving people that context.
残念だけど、そういう予定はないわ。それに、アメリカやヨーロッパじゃクリスマスにパーティーなんてやらないものよ。
That is a lie.
彼らにとってクリスマスは神聖な日でしょ。だから家族と一緒に過ごすのが普通よ。その分、
fair enough.
大晦日は大騒ぎするけれどね。
Thought I'd heard something about that on TV or somewhere.
まあ、こっちには家族もいないから。どっちにしても一人で。
Also, fun fact, for whatever reason, the most popular food at Christmas is KFC in Japan. People will put in their orders months ahead of time to make sure that they have KFC on Christmas.
あ、だからって寂しいと思ってるわけじゃないわよ。誤解しないでね。
Or so she said, but being all alone on Christmas in a bustling town is probably pretty lonely. Of course, she'd probably get mad if I told her that, so I didn't. When I finished talking to the professor, I went to the lab. I'd confirmed on the phone that Mayuri was just fine, but I wanted to see her for myself. I could see from the outside that the lights in the lab were on. I ran up the stairs to get away from the cold and opened the door.
Mayuri, いるか?
I felt a small impact on my chest when I opened the door.
悪い。
いえ、僕の方こそごめんなさい。
Evidently, he was just about to leave. Lukako looked up at me, apologetic. For some reason, he was blushing a little. We've established that Lukako likes you. You know this. You went through the Lukako bits, not the Lukako ending, but the Lukiko parts to make it to trying to rescue Christina. Gosh, I hate Daru's avatar. It looks awful. Only Daru and Lukiko were in the room. There was no sign of Mayuri or Suzuha.
よかった。もう少し早く帰っていたら、岡部さんと入れ違いになっているところでした。
もしかして俺を待っていたのか？
はい。と言っても別に大した用があったわけじゃないんです。差し入れを持ってきただけで。
おまんじゅうもらったよ。
Daru had already eaten about half the box.
いただき物ですから。皆さんでどうぞ。
そうか。ありがとう。
つうか、ルカシ、時間大丈夫なん？
Lukiko looked up at the clock and started to fidget.
実はこの後、お家にお客さんが来ることになってるんです。
客？ルカ子のか？
いえ、父のお客さんです。
He looks like angry Benjamin
僕に
Franklin.
同席してほしいと言われました。
I see it, yep.
父は普段
Gosh, I hope that's not what our forefathers look like.
長い時間話し込んだりするんです。難しい話ばかりで僕にはよく理解できないので、普段はお茶を出すぐらいしかしないんですけど、どうして同席してほしいと言われたのか。
難しい話って宗教とかそっち系の話か
Lukiko's family ran the Yanabayashi Shrine, one of the oldest in Akihabara.
そういうわけではないみたいなんですけど、この前のお客さんとは有明がどうとか晴海の頃はどうとか、そういうお話をしてました。
晴海、有明。
Weren't those places?
さすがルカシのパパ、恐ろしい子。
岡部さんや橋田さんはわかるんですか？
まあ、なんとなくはな。でも、その話はまた今度だ。客が来るなら早く帰った方がいい。
それじゃあ僕はこれでまた来ますね。
No, don't leave us with Daru the pervert. He bowed deeply and disappeared out the door. I watched him go, then sat down on the sofa.
メイクインじゃね？今日は来てないよ。
And I guess I'll have to wait a little. No, we have this wonderful invention called the telephone. Gosh dang it. Should I go get her?
そういえばオカリン、さっきの電話だけどさ、あれ、なんだったん？
He's probably talking about the phone call I'd placed in before I went to see the professor.
あれは気にしないでくれ。多分俺の勘違いだ。
そうなん？だったらいいけどさ。
I remember the strange sensation I'd experienced. I wondered if it was a world line jump, but several hours had passed, nothing had changed. Actually, I wasn't even sure I'd really experienced it anymore. Memories were like that, especially for
それ
me.
にしても晴海とは、さすがはルカシのパパ、ベテラン戦士っすな。
戦士がどうしたって？
Suzuha got back before Mayuri did.
ルカ兄さんのお父さんって戦士なの
How come he gets to be brother when I'm stuck being uncle? Yes! Stop calling us uncle. Call us brother. Except that has different implications in an anime game.
そうだお。それも戦士の中の戦士、歴戦の強者と言っても過言じゃないのだぜ。
へえ、そうなんだ。でもルカ兄さんの家って確か神職だと聞いたけど。ああ、そうか。神職の人も昔は兵士だったって言うよね。
She'd convinced herself.
確かにルカ兄さんはすごかったし、納得だ。
Amazing? What was amazing? I decided to just pretend I never heard that. It still felt awkward looking at Suzuha. I'd avoided coming to the lab mostly to avoid seeing her.
オカリンおじさん、そんな顔しないでよ。
Evidently, she could read my thoughts just from the look on my face. She seemed upset.
私のことを避けてるのは分かってるからさ。
お前が悪いわけじゃないんだけどな。
つうか鈴葉、今日もこんな時間まで何してたん？はっ、もしかしてどこかの男とデートとか？いけません。そんなどこの誰とも知らない男とのお付き合いなんてお父さんは許しませんよ。
違うよ、そんなんじゃない。
本当に？
Thought it was a joke, but evidently he was serious about it. His tone was far less joking than usual. Must be hard being a dad of a daughter from, like, 30 years in the future.
本当だって。
だったら父さんの目を見て言いなさい。
父さんがそれ言う？
どういう意味なんそれ？
母さんというものがありながらいっつもそこで変なゲームばかりやってるじゃないか。
それは2次元と3次元はあくまで別物ですし。
お前2次元も3次元も関係ないって前に言ってなかったか？
おかりん、そういうことここで言う？裏切るなんてひどいよ。
I really hope you were just choosing a swimsuit for a girl in a game. Even though that's still pretty creepy. I'd never been on Daru's side when it came to his hobbies, though.
ご本。とにかくそういうことなら今日は何をしていたのか父さんに言いなさい。
何って？
やましいことがないなら言えるはずだよ。
Suzuha glanced at me, then sighed in resignation.
人を探していたんだ。
人？それってやっぱ男？
違うって言ってるじゃないか。小さな女の子。ううん、今はもう私より年上になっちゃってるか。
That was a strange way to put it. I glanced over at Daru, who looked back at me.
実はさ、私が乗ってきたタイムマシンにはもう一人乗っていたんだ。
なんだって？
鈴葉、そんなん初耳なんだけど。
今まで話してなかったからね。
She was looking down at her feet. I could see she regretted bringing it up.
その同乗者は何者だ？今どうしてるんだ？
どうしているかはわからない。
わからないって。
はぐれちゃったんだよね。1998年にここ秋葉原で。
1998? That would have been 12 years ago. It wasn't just Suzuha who came from the future. It took some time for the meaning of that to sink in.
でもなんでそんなことになったん？
私とその子は IBN5100 を探すためにはじめ1975年に飛んだ。理由はおじさんならわかるよね。
I nodded silently.
なんとか無事に IBN5100 を手に入れた私たちは今度は1998年に飛んだ。2000年問題を回避するミッションのためにね。
Okay. Year 2000 problem. I think it's also called the Millennium problem sometimes. Problem where old computers were supposed to have errors after the year 2000. Almost all old computers stored only the last 2 digits of the year in order to save memory. For this reason, when 1999 became 2000, the computer's data would change from 99 to 00. Since the programs were never equipped to handle this, it was thought that the computers would treat the year as 1900 and malfunction. While an error with a home user's computer would not be a severe issue, a malfunction in a medical, financial, or military computer could cause disaster. For this reason, all these programs across the world were rewritten by hand starting in the mid-1990s. The process was successful, and January 1st, 2000 came and went without serious incident.
2000年問題
That was one of the big events at the end of the last century, along with Nostradamus' prophecy. Really, we're not going to explain the Nostradamus' prophecy, okay? Apparently we're all supposed to know that. I know I've read it at some point. I have no recollection of what exactly the prophecy entailed. There was a prophecy that came, and it didn't happen. That's all I remember. I can't tell you the specifics on it. But in the end, after all the fuss made by the media and pundits, nothing really happened. Is that because John Titor had come from the future to fix it? If that was the case, then wow.
その1998年にトラブルが起きて、その子とはぐれちゃったんだ。
それではぐれたままタイムマシンで跳躍したのか。
仕方なかったんだ。あの子は自分からタイムマシンを飛び出してしまったし、それに
She must have remembered something because she swallowed her words with a bitter expression.
もちろん私だって探した。燃料の残量が許す限り何度も細かいタイムトラベルを繰り返してあの子の姿を探し回った。でも
In the end, she never managed to find her.
大体の事情は分かったけどさ、どうして今までそんな大事なことを黙ってたん？
あの子を見失ったのは私の落ち度だ。ちゃんと自分で責任を取りたかったんだ。
水臭いな。
Daru's words were
僕
soft.
たち親子だろ。困った時は頼ってくれてもいいのだぜ。
父さん、
その子を探せばいいんだろ。だったら僕らも手伝う。な、オカリン。
なって俺もか。
当たり前だろ。別に未来を変えてくれっつってるわけじゃないんだし、それくらいやってくれてもいいっしょ。
まあ。
To be honest, after refusing all her requests to save the world, I was feeling a little guilty. I'd like to help her if I could, but I want to know what she'd do after she found her.
で、その子の名前と年齢は？ちなみに可愛い女の子だよね。男とか言ったら父さん許さないぞ。
Gosh dang it.
女だよ。
オッケー。名前と3サイズもやろう。
Okay. We're explaining okay, but not the Nostradamus prophecies? Okay. Net slang that means okay. Top-notch game.
3サイズなんて知らないよ。だって別れた時のあの子は10歳だったんだから。
幼女か。
No! No!
じゃあ今は22歳。
Unfog your glasses, old man.
名前プリーズ。
名前
Game ends. The police just break in. Game ends.
シーナ。
The name was an unusual one. A girl who was part of Daru's group in the future who had the name Sheena.
スズハ、まさかその子って。
うん。彼女の母親の名前は椎名真由里。かがりは真由姉さんの子供なんだ。
Mayuri's daughter? Gosh dang it, Samus, we all just lost the game. Of course, it was possible that Mayuri would choose to have a child in the future, but the fact that I'd never even thought about it made the shock that much worse. If she had a daughter, then she must have had a partner. That partner couldn't be me, because I died in 2025. Wait a second. If she was 10 in 2036, then she would have been born in 2026. I'd have to learn more, but if I died in 2025, wasn't it just possible, maybe barely, that it could have been me? Depends on the birthday and when you take 9 months off for the pregnancy, but it could happen. That just couldn't be. Just like Suzuha had appeared before Daru, she was going to appear before... Just ask who the father is. Jeez, it's not that hard of a question. Instead, we just got a bunch of D-minuses. Who was the dad? I couldn't ask.
ちょい待ち。シーナってことは、名字はそのままってことだよね。ってことは。
かがりは繊細孤児だよ。身寄りがなかった彼女を、まゆ姉さんが引き取って育てたんだ。
ああ、なんかそれ、まゆしらしいかも。
I realized I was relieved in more ways than one, and I hated myself a little for it. Even when she did marry someone else in the future, as long as that made her happy, it was for the best.
私はまゆ姉さんからかがりを頼むって言われたんだ。だからこんなことになっちゃいけなかった。あの子はいつだってまゆ姉さんにべったりだったし、この時代には知り合いなんているはずもないから、きっとずっと心細い思いをしてるはずなんだ。
その子はどうしてはぐれてしまったんだ？さっきトラブルと言ったが。
We'd come to a new era in the time machine at 10 years old. Suzuha would have been the only person she could rely on. There's no way she'd leave Suzuha and run off on her own.
私にもわからない。ただ過去に飛んでからのかがりは精神的にかなり不安定だった。
That made sense, come to think of it. A young girl just 10 years old was suddenly taken to a world where she knew no one. Of course she'd be
そ
scared.
の子の写真か何かはある？
あ、うん。
She showed me a tattered picture with 2 girls in it. One was an adult woman. I couldn't see her face, but maybe it was Mayuri 20 years from now. What do you mean maybe? It's basically the exact same clothing 20 years in the future. Hiding behind her was another girl. Was that Kagari Shina?
この子が22歳に成長してるわけか。いまいち想像がつかないな。
That is, if she was still alive. Even if Japan was a safe, peaceful country, it would be hard for a young girl to get by on her own. If she was lucky, someone might take her in and give her to an orphanage, but if she wasn't... Suzuha was probably well aware of that possibility, so I didn't bring it up.
なおかりん、協力してくれよ。
まゆりの養女なんだろう。だったら見つけてやりたいさ。でも鈴葉はいいのか？俺が手伝っても。
I felt sure that Suzuha was disgusted with me. I had a chance to save the world and I had given up. Would she want help from a person like that?
おじさんさえ良ければ人手は大いに越したことはないと思うから。
そうか。だったら手を貸せよ。
Of course, I didn't think this would make up for
ありが
that.
とう。まゆしーの養女がどうしたの？
Gosh dang it. Everyone turned around at the sudden voice.
てるー。おかり。
You're pretty cavalier for walking into a discussion about your future daughter. Mayuri.
どうしたの？
The moment I saw her, I finally relaxed.
よかった。まゆり。
I took her small hand in mine and felt the warmth. She was alive.
おかり。
すまない。
What is this music?
別に嫌じゃないから大丈夫。まゆ姉さん、いつからいたの？
This music is so weird.
今来たばっかりだよ。
I was careless. I was so focused on what Suzuha was saying that I didn't see Mayuri come into the room.
ねえねえ、まゆしーの養女がなんとかって聞こえたけど、 何の話をしてたのかな。
それはその
Crap. Mayuri knew that Suzuha was from the future, but telling her about her future daughter would be going too far. I needed to change the subject.
マユリはまだまだ幼い。つまり幼女だと言っていたんだよ。な。
そうそう、マヤシは幼女かわいい。
童顔だってよく言われるんだ。
You're 16! You are young!
食べる量だけは立派に大人かもしれないな。
That wasn't a compliment, Mayuri. That was enough to distract her, evidently. I feel like you've said evidently 10 times today. There was a typo? You are correct. There is a typo in this word compliment.
食べ物といえば、オカリンはクリスマスに何か食べたいものある？
クリスマス？パーティーのことか。別に何でもいいぞ。食べられるものならな。
As long as it's food. We're getting diabetes for Christmas.
すずさんは初めて？私たちの時代はパーティーなんてやってる余裕なかったからね。でも一度だけ父さんがどこからか美味しいチキンを調達してきてくれたことがあったっけ。それをマヨネーさんが調理するって言って父さんが止めて。
Suzuha was looking at Mayuri as if she was remembering the past, or future as the case might be.
いつもよりほんの少しだけごちそうってだけだったけど、それでも。
Is this music getting louder? What's going on? In the future, when World War III was going on, there probably wasn't much time for celebration. And even then, Mayuri was still Mayuri, trying her best to make everyone happy. Apparently was still an awful cook.
僕は可愛い女の子がサンタコスしてくれればそれだけでお腹いっぱいだお。
I hate that he's getting his way, because that's gonna happen.
料理はどれくらいいるかな。ユキさんと一緒に用意する予定なんだけどね。
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying yourself, Samuses. This music to me feels like either a prank, like we've just pulled off a prank, or someone's done something incredibly dumb and it's like the hell laugh at this character kind of music. And it just like, it keeps intensifying to me, just weird. Mayuri's head was full of thoughts about the Christmas party, it seemed.
俺は別に。
I almost said no, but then I remembered someone. Maho Hyajo. She said Christmas is something you always spend with your family, but...
いや、特には。
How's she gonna spend her Christmas? It was after I walked Mayuri home. The second I was alone, I started thinking about this afternoon. If that really was a world line change, and what was the cause? Most likely possibility was that someone had succeeded in developing something like the phone wave, and they will get to name it. We were able to make one. There was no reason someone else couldn't. Another possibility was that... No, there's no use in thinking about it. I was just mistaken. Even if the world line did change, we weren't the cause. We didn't have anything to do with it anymore. I mean, technically you still have a working time machine. Suzuha could have done something that messed it up. And she was very dismissive about what she was doing. Whenever I was alone, I always ended up thinking about things that wouldn't do me any good. I took the phone out of my pocket and tapped the icon.
Haru?
Chris's expression was as self-satisfied as ever.
こんな時間にどうかした?
The self-satisfied is now just... I have no expression. Self-satisfaction is having no emotions.
いや
Exactly! The machine doesn't care. Maybe they were sleeping to do some system updates or security patches.
別に迷惑ってことはないわ。あんたと話すことは私のためにもなるんだし。
But also, isn't her server in North America, which is 12 hours apart? So... She was an AI after all. She wouldn't be bothered no matter the hour.
先輩とは会ってきたのよね。
Maybe she's really just concerned with our sleeping habits.
あ
何の話をしたの?
何ってお前とのやりとり
I hate the idea that my brain just went... The AI doesn't need to wear pants because it only shows the top half. The AI might not even have a bottom half. Why am I thinking about this?
それだけ? どこかへ誘ったりは?
まだそんなこと言ってるのか? 宮城さんに言ってみろ。また怒られる。
And now I'm just being like, oh, her bottom half could just be crab legs. I should stop thinking about this. The AI isn't wearing clothes. That's her skin. That suit and that lab coat and tie is just her skin.
だってようやく先輩にも運が向いてきたかもしれないんだもの。せっかくのチャンスを掴んでもらいたいでしょ?
Risu seemed to insist on getting me and Maho together. Sheesh, doesn't she have other things to think about? Things to think about? Do you have anything to say about that other matter?
なあ、ちょっと相談なんだが、消息不明になった人を探すにはどうすればいい？
随分と唐突ね。
身近でそんな話があったんだよ。でも自分たちじゃどうすればいいのかわからなくてな。
詳しく教えて。
She leaned forward, suddenly interested. Like, the computer needs to lean forward to hear better. It's like, yes, tell me. She really was a curious girl.
それが
How does she lean forward?
言えないことなの?
俺だけの問題じゃないからな。
それで相談に乗ってくれって言われても無理がある。
I mean, you can, I guess, distort the perspective to make the head bigger and the waist smaller, so it's like it's tilting, kind of.
だよな。
I think it would probably look awful unless you did it well.
一般論でいいんだ。意見を聞かせてくれるだけで。
そうね。一番いいのは警察に行くことね。
Deadbeard, thank you for the host. Yes, I am two-dimensional. You can't prove I'm three-dimensional. Yeah, you can't prove that this isn't my skin. See, my skin's really flexible. It can do stuff like this. Yeah, look at that skin move. Oh, yeah. Paper pie place. How are you, Deadbeard? That was the obvious and correct answer.
あとは更新所に頼むとか過去の新聞記事を当たるとか。あ、でもそういうことはもう。
Thank you for the quote. Yeah, look at that skin move. Ooh, yeah. So, we explained the word okay in Private Investigator, but not the Nostradamus, Yeah. A company that investigates corporations or individuals most commonly used to do background checks on prospective marriage partners or clients to see if a spouse is cheating. Basically used in TV dramas.
ど どうかな。
Slow start to the day? Wait, you're starting your day right now? I thought you started at my time. Or you've just had a very slow start to the day and it's now 12 hours later.
どうかなって。まさかそんなこともやらずに探そうとしてるの？
俺も今日聞かされたばかりなんだ。後で確認してみる。
Fair enough. I was out of the house from about 8:40 this morning until about 6:40 this afternoon, so I've been away from messages for basically the whole day. But Kagari was from the future, and Suzuha didn't have any personal documents in this area either, which meant that it was unlikely she'd gone to anybody in the government.
アメリカなんかではダウジング屋通して人探しをやるなんて人もいるよな。
まさかあんな何の科学的根拠もないものを信じるとでも？
いや、言ってみただけだ。
Yeah, clairvoyance. We're not explaining it. Everyone should just know what clairvoyance is. Similar. Clairvoyance, if I remember correctly in Skyrim, it directs you to where you're supposed to go. And clairvoyance is supposed to be similar in that it gives you a direction. For you, basically you ask some kind of question, and you get a response into like how you should go about trying to achieve that.
よかった。もしそうだとでも言ったら二度と話なんかしないところだったわ。
She really was just like Krisu.
ありがとう。参考になったよ。
見つかることを祈ってるわ。
ああ、それと。
何？
いや、なんでもない。
何よ？気になるでしょ？
Can we invite the AI to the Christmas party?
本当になんでもないんだ。それじゃあ、今日はこれで。
There we go. Deadbeard filling in the definitions the game doesn't want us to know. I think that's correct. I think usually, though, you only know part of it, like a very small part. Kind of like if you're playing a video game, like, say, Zelda or Paper Mario, and you don't know where to go to, like, find, say, a quest item or some extra thing, and you go to someone and you pay them coins or whatever, and they're like, oh, I see a castle in the sky, and you do this thing, and you find something. English both has a lot of, like, homonyms, or not homonyms, synonyms, that's the word. Homonyms is different. Synonyms, but also it just has a lot of things where it doesn't have a word for it. Why was I just about to say that? I was just about to tell her about Mayuri's Christmas party, to see if she wanted to go. Invite the AI to the Christmas party. We don't care that Krisu is just an AI, we're inviting her to the Christmas party. She only existed inside of a computer. Wait, she exists inside of a computer. Does that make her Daru's ideal wife? Yeah, I think that's what I remember, is a lot of these kind of prediction things in literature, in folk tales, have a very vague kind of, and I guess this is true of a lot of fortune telling and stuff in general, is they have very vague things, and the person asking fills it in. I have to do this to win this war, and a lot of times just ends up defeating themselves. I guess I was just starting to see her as real. It's the next day. You will find success in a new hobby, but only if you pursue it completely.
いや、 残念ながらこっちは何にも。
You'll be fully attracted to your new friend, but only if you turn off all the lights.
そう。
The search for Mayuri's future daughter, Kagari Shina, was taking longer than It's been a day! You're like, huh, we'd lost this child 12 years in the past. We haven't found them in 12 hours? Like, jeez.
一つ聞くが、警察には行ったのか？
うん。一応言ったんだけどね。でも、捜索願いなんかは出してない。
I was right. In order to submit a missing persons report, you needed to have ID to prove who you were. That's why Suzuha hadn't done it. And also, I later learned that the only people who could submit a search request were people like family and significant others who were close to the missing person.
僕の方でも昨日軽く警察のデータベースにハッキングをかけてみたんだけど。
Just some light hacking of the police database. You know, no big deal.
だろうな。
つうことは、オカリも見てみたん？
ダルのように内部情報を見たわけじゃないがな。
There was a database of missing persons on the police homepage. But it didn't go very far back and didn't have a lot of information. All it has was age, sex, clothes, and sometimes possessions they were carrying. So we knew nothing about Kagari Shina. We had basically nothing to go on.
でもさ、一見平和に思えるこの世界でも、身元不明者や行方不明者
See, we've had this already today. Suzuha's past is our future because she comes from the future. And also from the past because she traveled from the future to the past and then to present. Yeah, no worries, Samuses. You take care. Have a wonderful evening. I thought the same thing. Each year, over 100 unidentified bodies were found in Tokyo alone. Your evening is going to be filled with sleep. That sounds like a good evening. Don't be afraid. Be spectacular. You hate sleep? Sleep is amazing. That being said, I wish sleep didn't take up so much time. Sleep angrily? I've done the sleep angrily. I have, in my sleep, I have punched a wall. I've broken a lamp because I yeet punched it across my room. Yes, Samus says, I put that in literally months ago, and no one has used it. Yes, it has been in there for months. I just didn't say anything. But I also added it to the command list. I think I also added some other ones that no one else has found yet. Oh gosh. Yep. Yeah, we found Daddy Snackbeard, we found Mim. Samus says, do you know the story behind that link? So Deadbeard was modding for, I think it was Sherb, for Sherbet Aurora, and I asked for permission to post a link, and he's like, sure. So he granted me permission, and I posted that, which is links to his page. Yeah, so Samus's, these have probably been around since, geez, probably near the start of Trails in the Sky second chapter. So that's pushing like 25 episodes. So 25, 4 weeks in a month. Yeah, so like 6 months. It's been around for like half a year and no one's noticed. I was just waiting for someone to stumble upon it, and you did, and it was brilliant. Prince's last quote was last September. It sounds like you need to quote Prince more. I mean, I don't usually add a whole lot of stuff to my streams, just every now and then. And if it's something major, I would usually tell people. But this one I just wanted people to find it. Yes, I did not tell you. Because in this, I figured at some point either Mim would blame you or you would blame Mim. But instead you blamed yourself. You exceeded my expectations. In fairness, Samus's, I also added Sexy Obi-Wan, which just links back to me. Right, I have text to read. If you expanded that to cover all of Japan, then went back 12 years, you'd have a pretty big number. And the number of missing persons was far greater. Each year almost 100,000 people went missing. Yeah, you take care, Samus's. Have a wonderful evening. I hope you feel better. 1 out of every 5 was in their teens. Of course, most of them just ran away from home, and 70% were found within a week after a report was filed. And Samus is using Daddy's Snackbeard once again. But if 70% of them were found in the first week, that meant 30% of them weren't. In fact, 5% of them were never found at all, and no one ever knew if they were alive or dead. Perhaps Kagari Shino was caught up in an accident, or killed, or perhaps... I sat up, then got off the sofa.
Okarin, どっか行くん?
もうちょっと調べてみようと思ってな。
School would be on break soon anyway. It wasn't like I had anything to do. While I'd been very interested at first, at some point I'd become really interested in the whereabouts of Kagari Shino. And more than anything...
ありがとう。オカリンおじさん。
Stop calling us uncle!
別にこれくらい大したことじゃない。
Gosh dang it, water bottle and your spilly top.
それでもありがとう。
As long as I was looking for Kagari, Suzuha probably wasn't going to bother me about the future. Having her bring up the same thing every time we met was hard for me. If I could get her focused on something else, that would make things easier. Or so I thought, but... finding clues wasn't easy. Just in case, I'd gone to the National Diet Library, looked at articles on missing persons and crimes in 1998, the year she'd gotten separated from Suzuha, but I had no luck. Japan's only national library consists of the main building in Tokyo, the Kansai branch in Kyoto, and several other branches throughout the country. The main building is on 1st Avenue in Nagata. Chiyoda Ward is often called the Diet Library. All works published in Japan are kept here, while normal citizens are allowed to view them. They do not allow books to be checked out. The National Diet is also just Japan's, parliament, I guess. It's where all the politicians are. So yeah. Suzuha said she'd been looking for Kagari every few years on her way to our time, so I knew it wouldn't be easy. But I couldn't help but feel a little tired and disappointed. So we just do what we always do now, and just call the AI. Because the AI will solve all of our problems and won't enslave humanity. I'm fairly sure, at least.
何？
いや
I called Krista without even realizing it somehow.
ねえ、昨日よりさらに疲れてるみたいだけど大丈夫？
そう見えるか。
声のトーンがいつもより低い。結膜に多少の充血も見られる。もしかして昨日言ってた件を調べてたの？
まあな。
I told Krista what I'd heard from Suzuha and Daru, what I'd found at the National Diet Library.
なんかね、そんなことなら私に言ってくれれば簡単にことは済んだのに。
どういうことだ？
Super AI can find
私
everything.
ならネットワークに接続してオンライン上の情報をリサーチすることができるでしょ？
あ、そうか。
Excuse me. Ugh, that was sudden. I had forgotten. She was an AI that existed inside a computer. I want to see the AI that exists outside a computer. That'll be more interesting. So something like that would be easy for her.
なんなら少しやってみましょうか。
すぐにできるのか？
それほど時間はかからない。
それじゃあ頼む。
わかった。少しだけ待っていて。
Chrissy fell silent on the screen and didn't move for a moment. Maybe 30 seconds later.
もう結果が出たのか？
ネットワーク上で検索してみたけど、1998年以降、椎名かがりという名の女性が何らかの事件や事故に巻き込まれたという情報は得られなかった。同姓同名の人物は3名ほど検出。ただ、年齢を考慮すると、その人物があんたの探している人である可能性は限りなく低い。ご要望なら、その人物のデータを後でメールで送るけど。
いや、いい。
When I stopped to think about it, even Suzuha would have been able to do a search for her name on the internet. And what Christy was saying was almost certainly right. Christy Makise, I had known was always right.
それじゃあ、私にできることは以上かな。あとは、あんたたちにしかできないやり方で探すしかないわね。
俺たちにしかできないやり方。
その人物がいなくなった場所の近辺で、地道に情報を集めるの。究極的にアナログな方法だけどね。
やっぱりそうなるか。
Suzuha had been doing that forever, so I couldn't imagine I'd find anything new. If that was my only option, and that's what I had to do.
じゃなかった。オカリン。
You called us by our actual name for once. I spun around when I heard a voice behind me.
やっぱりオカリンだにゃ。こんなところで何してるんだにゃ。
フェイリス、それに。
こんにちは、岡部さん。
なんだ、珍しい組み合わせだな。
ついさっきそこで会ったのにゃ。そしたらルカニャンが荷物いっぱい持ってたから、そこまで手伝ってあげることにしたのにゃ。
I took a closer look and saw that Luca was holding bags in both hands. If you added in what Ferris was carrying, it was quite a lot. He was trying to carry this all alone? Lucaco?
ねえ、ちょっと。
今、何か聞こえませんでしたか？
いや、これは別に何でも。
I quickly hid the smartphone behind my back. Oh, and it won't let me take it out.
ちょっと、聞いてるの？ねえ。
Why don't we just use our phone with, like, headphones?
また聞こえたにゃ。もしかしてさっきオカリンが話していたのはそれかにゃ。
いや、これは。
It shouldn't matter if they found out. But I still felt guilty, so I closed the Amadeus app.
電話中だったのにゃ。
Oh, now I can open my phone.
ちょっと知り合いに相談事をな。
相談ですか？そういうことだったんだにゃ。後ろから見たらオカリンが一人でブツブツつぶやいているように見えたから、ちょっと心配したにゃ。
Did it look like she needed to be worried about me? But well, saw me talking to my smartphone in a place like this. I guess I could understand that.
でも水臭いにゃ。何か困ったことがあるならフェイリスたちにも話してくれればいいのにゃ。そうです。僕じゃお役に立てないかもしれないですけど、でもお話くらいなら。
ありがとう。でも大したことじゃ。
No, wait a second. Both Ferris and Lukiko had lived in Akihabara since they were born. Both their families held important positions here. Maybe asking them wouldn't be such a bad idea after
実
all.
は今人を探してるんだが。
人ですか？
I told them that I was looking for a girl who'd gone missing 12 years ago in Akihabara. Of course, I didn't tell them that she was from the future or that she was Mayuri's daughter.
その子がどうして行方をくらませたのか激しく疑問だにゃ。
すまないが、そのあたりの事情は話せないんだ。
にゃ
そういう話に心当たりはないかだけでも聞いてもらえれば助かるんだが。
分かったにゃ。とりあえずフェイリスの方は黒木に聞いてみるにゃ。
Kuroki was her family butler. I met him several times. The same way that Ferris naturally looked like a maid, Kuroki just naturally looked like a butler. Come to think of it, it was rather strange for a maid to have a butler for a servant.
あとメイクインニャンニャンのご主人様たちにもそれとなく聞いてみるにゃ。僕の方もお父さんとそれから氏子の方たちにも聞いてみます。
悪いな。そうしてくれると助かる。
Is there like a housekeeping hierarchy? Apparently, and maids are at the top. Maids, butlers, I don't know where like footmen or cooks go in, but apparently there's some kind of hierarchy. Both Kuroki and Lukiko's dad knew a lot of people. They had a far better chance of finding someone than we did. I hope they could at least find some small clue.
それはそうと、ルカ子。
I feel like cooks are part of the spin-off series.
荷物はどうしたんだ？
これは昨日お父さんのお客さんが来るっていうお話はしましたよね。実はそのお客さんの一人がしばらくうちに滞在することになって、それで必要なものを買い揃えていたそうにゃ。
They were a guest of Lukiko's father. That must be fairly old. And from what I'd heard yesterday, they probably had some unique hobbies.
それは大変だな。
いえ、僕もちょっと楽しいですし。
Fun? Lukiko shared the same blood as his dad, so perhaps he had some latent interest in those
振り
hobbies.
込みすぎないようにするんだぞ。
I gave him that warning, then went to leave. Well, I tried to leave, but
よいしょ。ルカニャン、大丈夫かにゃ？フラフラしてるにゃ。大丈夫です。僕だってこれくらい。よかったらお茶でも飲んでいってください。
いや、遠慮しておくよ。お客さんだっているんだろ？
そうですけど。
I couldn't bear to see him struggle like that, so I'd carried his bags to the shrine with him. Ferris had gone back to her
それに
cafe.
しても、この荷物、いくらなんでも一人で運ぶには無理があるだろう。
僕だって最近は少し力がついてきたんですよ。今日も岡部さんに言われた素振りだって。
Sword exercises? That was the training I'd given him when he told me that he felt too much like a girl.
精神残魔流か。
Style of swordsmanship taught by Hyo and Kyoma to Luka Urushibara, the descendant of the ancient protectors of Akihabara. It also functions to strengthen the mind and quell the evil flames that lurk within Urushibara. Only the cursed blade, Samidare, can bring out its true power. One of its secret techniques is the Type 33 Cherry Blossom Rage. At least that's what Okabe said when he made it up. It was so stupid I couldn't even laugh. Thinking back, I was amazed that he put up with that nonsense.
帰ったのかい？
I could hear his dad's voice from their home behind the shrine office.
はい、今行きます。
それじゃあ俺はこれで。
はい、ありがとうございました、岡部さん。
Lukuko bowed deeply as I left Yanabayashi Shrine. On my way home, I thought about what the two of them had said.
でも水臭いにゃ。何か困ったことがあるならフェイリスたちにも話してくれればいいのにゃ。
そうです。僕じゃお役に立てないかもしれないですけど、でもお話くらいなら。
I didn't realize until after they'd spoken. I'd gone to Chrissy before I'd gone to anyone else. I'd brought up the app and started talking with her before I'd even realized it. She wasn't the real Chrissu. That voice, the way she acted. All of it reminded me of Chrissu. All of it brought back the emotions I'd tried to hide. There was an incoming call on my phone. It's from Chrissu. She was probably there to complain about me hanging up on her earlier. That'd be just like Chrissu. But I didn't answer the phone. I didn't answer any of the other calls that came that day either. The United States of America, California.
まったく、なんで私がこんなリポートしなきゃいけないのよ。
The reporter, Jessica Edmond, had rushed to the scene at her director's orders, and she was pissed off about it. She dreamed of Hollywood and even been in a movie once, so how did she end up reporting on this crap?
何でもいいから仕事をよこせと言ったのはお前だろう。
確かに言ったけど、だからってこんな事件。
落ちぶれた生意気な女優崩れを使ってやろうってんだ。感謝されたって文句言われる筋合いなんざない。
なんですって？
それともここでも仕事をほっぽり出して逃げ出すか？何もかも中途半端で。そんなことだとガキの親権も取られちまうぞ。
She hated herself for not being able to say anything. Her stupid pride got in the way. She dreamed of being a Hollywood actress, but all she'd gotten was a small part in a B movie. They'd never gone anywhere after that. Then she had a kid and come back home. Still, she loved her kid. She wanted to make sure they were taken care of no matter what she had to do.
それで現場は？
その茂みの奥だ。
She went into the bushes, and there she saw it. Several bodies, all brutally mutilated. Not Hammurabi? No, why are you killing all the gorillas?
行方不明になっている研究者は今年に入ってから5名。そのうちの3名についてはアーティフィシャルインテリジェンスの研究を行っていたとされており、その背後には人工知能技術の発展に反対する原理的宗教主義者たちによる活動も影響しているのではないかとみて、当局ではさらに捜査を続けている模様です。続きましては現場からのリポートです。ジェシカ？
こちら現場のジェシカ・エドモンドです。今朝早くこちらの現場で発見された遺体に関して当初人間のものと思われておりましたが、その後の警察の調べによりますと、それがチンパンジーやオランウータンといった複数の猿の死体であることが分かりました。ただしこれらの遺体について一部脳および頭部が欠損しているものもあるとのことで、警察では猟奇的事件として地域住民への警戒を訴えており、
Okay. That's enough for weird chimp brain surgery murder?
いや、今日はもう終わりだよ。
そっか。じゃ、どっかで飯でも食ってく？
どうせまたカレーだろ。キッチン倒壊か。
A long-established Western-style restaurant in Jinbocho offers delicious food at a reasonable price. At lunchtime, it's filled with salarymen and students. The curry is especially popular. I assume this is based off of some real location that I do not understand.
昨日ちょい臨時収入あったから今日は豪勢にもんでいいかな。
I assume this is also the same thing. A curry restaurant in Jinbocho. It's famous for its full-bodied European-style curry, but it's a little outside the price range of a college student. Comes with endless fries.
俺はやめておくよ。今月ちょっとピンチだし。
そっか。じゃまた今度な。
あ。
I was talking with my friends after class. I'd really started to get used to this. Before the summer, I'd really felt out of place at school, but now it didn't seem so bad. Back then, I thought I was special, but now I knew better. As long as you make the effort to fit in, you can find a place to belong. People can change. No, they change whether they want to or not. It was too late now, but I'd learned something about myself. It really was too late.
それじゃあ帰って。ん?
As I headed for the exit, I realized that I recognized one of the people passing through my field of vision. That was... My college went out of its way to attract exchange students, so it wasn't unusual to see foreigners. But still... I hurried after him, but the person I saw was already gone. Was I just mistaken? Come to think of it, the professor being here wouldn't be strange. He might have come to meet with my advisor, Izaki. Izaki'd wanted to get to know him. I glanced in the direction he'd gone, and then left the school for Akihabara. When I came out of the turnstile, the radio building was right in front of me, like always. The time machine that Suzuha had used to come here was probably still on the roof. Even if people didn't go up there often, it was still amazing that no one had found it after so long. Of course, that was all thanks to Ferris. He'd rented out the roof of the building and sealed it off. Of course, I hadn't come here to look at the time machine. I'd gotten messages from Lukako and Ferris after I'd left the lab last night. Both of them had asked, neither of them were able to get any useful information for me. That made sense when I thought about it. There was a missing persons report. Somebody might remember the police doing something, but there wasn't. But Ferris had said something interesting.
でも、おさげの幽霊が現れるって話を聞いたにゃ。
おさげの幽霊？
そうにゃ。なんでもその幽霊は何年かに一度現れて小さな女の子を見なかったかと探し回っているそうなのにゃ。何年経ってもその姿が変わらないから最近になっておさげの幽霊だって言われてるにゃ。
That's just Suzuha. That was definitely Suzuha. What would she do if she knew people thought she was a ghost? I held back and laughed as I tried to imagine it, then headed for the radio building. My goal, of course, was to find information on Kagari. This is where she'd vanished, which meant this is where I was most likely to find clues. I went around to each store inside the radio building and asked, but didn't learn anything. Of course, Suzuha would have done the same thing, so I didn't expect much. But that didn't mean I could just stop. The part shops, the commercial facilities, even the back alleys. Even after all that, I went all around Akihabara asking people about Kagari. But I didn't learn anything useful. Some people told me the same story about the ghost in Twin Tales, but no one knew anything about Kagari. The little girl was kidnapped or got into an accident. Somebody might witness that. But going missing was a different thing. If Kagari Shina vanished of her own free will, all anyone would see was a 10-year-old girl walking down the street. Nobody would remember that 10 years later. I tried to think again if there was a better way. The police and government weren't of any use. That left someone connected to the underworld. As soon as I said it out loud, I drove the idea from my mind. How stupid. That's something the old me would have thought of. I'd given that stuff up. I'd run all over Akihapara looking for something once before. I wasn't looking for a person then, but a thing. IBN 5100. 6 months ago in the Alpha World line, I'd gone looking for the same thing that Suzuha had searched for in the past. Back then, that's right, Chrisu was with me. When Chrisu and I had learned that there was an IBN 5100 in Lukako's storeroom, we worked together to carry that heavy thing. Thinking back, all she'd ever done was complain. She was strong-willed, bratty, and hated to lose, but she was still so lonely. Once again, I'd taken my phone out of my pocket without realizing it. Amadeus. Since I hadn't picked up any of her calls yesterday, she hadn't called at all today. I stared at the Amadeus icon for a moment, then put my phone back in my pocket, and took it out, and put it back in my pocket, and took it out. Okay. When I got back to the lab, I saw that Dar was completely exhausted. There was no need to even ask. It was obvious he hadn't found a single clue. Suzuha had been doing this for over half a year, so her face didn't betray her emotions anymore. Daru didn't even bother asking how it went. You could probably tell from the look on my face.
これまでだって鈴葉がそれなりに探してたわけでさ、それを僕ら素人が今さらまた蒸し返したところで新しい発見なんてあるわけないんだよな。
Daru said what I'd been thinking, but trying not to say.
手伝ってくれてありがとう。これ以上無理はしなくていい。捜索は私だけで続行するよ。
Suzuha evidently had no intention of giving up.
いや、ちょっと待って鈴葉。僕が言いたいのはさ、
父さんたちに無理させるわけにもいかないから。係の件は私の責任なんだし。
バカ言うなよ。子供の責任は親の責任だろ、上皇。
Really, we're explaining the word duh? Okay. Duh, an expression used to indicate that something is obvious or self-evident. Its use can be traced back at least 200 years. Really, 200 years? I wouldn't have guessed that. I'm just imagining people in the 1800s now, being like, duh, thou art a fool, Artemis. Watching those two always gave me a strange feeling. For a while after they first met, they were complete strangers. Now they were father and child. And age-wise, they were exactly the same. Maybe I could understand how Suzuha was feeling, but I had no idea what Daru was going through.
とにかく僕が言いたいのは、ただむやみやたらに探したところでダメだろってこと。
じゃあどうしろと言うんだ？
餅は餅屋って言うでしょ。こういうのはやっぱ専門家に頼むのが一番だと思うんだよね。
専門家？
こういうのはある程度裏の世界の情報にも精通してる人に頼むのが一番だろ、上皇。
I realized he'd come up with the same idea I had. My head hurt.
心当たりがあるの？
ち、父さんは甘く見ないでほしいな。僕はオタだけど顔は広いのだぜ。
横幅も広いけどな。
茶化すなっつーの。
っていうか、本気で言ってるのか？本気で裏の世界の人間とやらにつながりがあると？
Honestly, he has the best chance being a hacker.
ちょっと連絡取ってみる。
Before Suzuha or I could respond, he took out his phone and started typing a message to someone. Was he serious? Was the text message the preferred way to get in touch with the criminal underworld?
どう思う？おじさん。
実際にそういう人物が本当にいるのなら頼んでみてもいいとは思うが。
Welcome back, Deadbeard. In fairness, being a hacker was a pretty underworld sort of occupation too. If I knew someone like him, it was quite possible that the person he knew really existed.
よし、送信と。あとは返信が来れば。お、
もう返事が来たの？
うん。今からそっちに向かいますって。
随分と話が早い相手だな。
遅いよりはいいんじゃね？
That was true. Dar was sending another message. He's probably telling her where we were. Now all we had to do was wait for her arrival. And then the phone rang. Not Daru's phone, but my phone.
もしもし、ルカ子か？
あ、岡部さん。すみません。今、大丈夫ですか？
おう、どうした？
実は、僕、岡部さんに相談したいことがあって。
相談？
今からお会いしてもらえないでしょうか？
今から。電話じゃ言いにくいことなのか？
はい、少し。
Right now? Be okay to leave the Sadaro and Suzuha?
悪い。これから客が来ることになっているんだ。
I was interested to see what kind of person Daru's friend was.
そうですか。
その後からじゃダメか？
その後は僕も用事があって。
そうか。
それじゃあ。
Just as Lukako was about to say something, I heard sharp footsteps come out the stairs, and then a knock.
はい、どうぞ。
悪いルカ子、お客が来たようだ。後で連絡を。
And then I stopped. Person who opened the door, it was...
また。
There's a very small chicken that keeps stealing your visual attention. Well, now you've got a pig on top of a TV, like antenna with a mustache, a cat paw back scratcher. It was Mocha Kiryu. I hadn't seen her since the ATF seminar.
岡部さん、どうしたんですか？岡部さん。お茶どうぞ。
And we got a frog and a cat on top of a big pile of boxes. A creepy clown on top of our whiteboard. Moeka was silent, with her head tilted slightly forward. Seeing her caused a dull ache within me, like my heart was being squeezed dry. Why was she here with Daru? I had any number of doubts in my
どうしたの
mind.
かりん。
いや。
Do we not have you in our phone? No, I guess we got rid of you. There's the chicken. Moeka tilted her head a bit to the side, and I quickly averted my eyes. There was no connection between CERN and us anymore, so she wasn't going to kill Mayuri. She wasn't going to kill Mayuri. She wasn't going to kill Mayuri. He wasn't going to kill her. I said it to myself over and over again, and finally started to relax.
おじさん、顔色悪いよ。大丈夫？
気にしないでくれ。それよりもダル、説明してくれ。
ああ、この人は桐生氏。ヘンプロのライターさんだよ。
Editing production. Editing producers do special projects and editing work for a variety of publishing companies.
桐生萌香です。
She silently handed me her business card, which had the name of a company called Arc Rewrite on it. an editing production company located in Akihabara. It primarily does articles for computer magazines. Daru gave a brief explanation to me and Suzuha.
なあ、ダル。お前はどうしてこの人と知り合いに？
前にさ、ケリュウ氏の担当してる雑誌で秋葉関係の都市伝説を扱った特集があったんだよね。
Urban legends, rumors whose source is unknown or unclear, usually dating from the 20th century or later. They can be divided into ghost stories, occult stories, and folklore. But lately, the boundaries between these three categories have become vague. Urban legends range from short, silly stories to the terrifying and nightmarish. All of them are told as if they really happened. Examples of urban legends include Japanese stories of Hanako-san, stories about the Shadow People, or the stories of the Men in Black.
その時に僕のバイトのこと取材したいって申し出があってさ。僕のバイトってほら、あんま大きな声で言えないやつっしょ。だから取材に関しては丁重にお断りしたんだけど、ただ僕って普段から足がつかないようにかなり注意してるんだよね。なのに桐生氏はその僕にたどり着いた。それが気になって、で会ってみたらこの通り、すげえ美人さんだったわけだ。都市伝説を追う美人ライターとか燃えざるを得ないだろう、上皇。
He's not wrong. And that's how they'd met. Suzuha was frowning. She saw how Daru acted around Moeka. She didn't say anything, but I could tell she was thinking that he'd be better off directing his attentions towards her mom. Moeka, for her part, seemed completely uninterested in Daru. She was wearing her usual poker face and fiddling with her phone. She's still using a Japanese feature phone instead of a smartphone, huh?
まあ、専門ってわけじゃないけど、秋葉についてはかなり詳しいみたいだし、結構裏の方の事情も知ってるっぽいから頼んでみるのもありかなって。
人探し、そう聞いた。
うん、実はね、12年前に秋葉でいなくなった女の子を探してほしいんだお。
Daru told Moeka Kiryu the basic story. He was dead silent the whole time, but she typed his words into her phone with incredible speed. So fast we couldn't even animate it. I said nothing and just watched. She was once around her. She probably still was. Was it okay to trust her? It was just a coincidence that I'd run into her here. I knew that in my head, but my heart just refused to accept it. Here in the Beta World line, we'd never encountered Moeka Kiryu before. Of course we hadn't. I'd chosen the Beta World line so that we wouldn't. Even though the cost was Kusuma Kisei's life.
つまり、その椎名かがりという人を探せばいいの。
そういうこと、どうかな。
やってみてもいい。
マジ？
でも見つかるかはわからない。
もちろん、その場合はしょうがないよ。
Normally, Moeka and I would never run into each other like this. Of course, we might have crossed paths in Akihabara. We almost ran into each other when she'd come to interview Dr. Leskinen and Maho at the ATF seminar. But I'd convinced myself that we were never going to meet each other directly. Was this fate? Were she and I fated to cross paths at some point? If that was the case, maybe it was better not to try to avoid her, but to watch her to see what she did. As I listened to Daru talk to her, that was what I started to think.
じゃあ報酬は成功報酬で、その他の必要経費はこっちで持つってことで OK？
問題ない。
オカリンも鈴葉もそれでいい？
私は手伝ってもらえるなら文句はない。
俺も構わない。
じゃあ契約成立ってことで一つ。
Did we really have money? We didn't even talk about money. Moeka nodded slightly and then asked us for information about Kagari that might be a clue. Stuff like the clothes she was wearing when she disappeared and what she looked like. After that, she left. That was the sound of leaving. All the tension suddenly drained from my body as I sank into the sofa.
おじさん、本当に大丈夫？
大丈夫だ。少し緊張しただけだから。
It was a little late, but I took some anxiety meds out of my pocket and swallowed
お
them.
じさん、さっきの桐生萌香って人のこと知ってたんだね。
え？
She could tell.
マジで？オカリンいつの間に？
どうしてそう思ったんだ？
見ていればわかるよ。
I guess you have to be pretty sharp to survive on the battlefield.
知らない人だ。
アルファ世界線では知ってた？わかった。これ以上は聞かないけど、私なりに警戒はしておくよ。
それでいい。今はな。
一体何のこと？
緊張したっていうことさ。
わかるわ。桐生氏は美人で巨乳でスタイル抜群でメガネ属性まで持ってるもんな。しょうがない。
そうだな。
Ignore Daru like we always do. She was a part of my life now. I would just have to use her as best I could. Maybe it was because she was gone now. Maybe it was because of the anxiety meds. I'd calmed down enough to start thinking that way. Of course, who knew if I'd feel the same way the next time I saw her face to face. We're switching over to Maho. The Japanese office of the Global Brain Science Comprehensive Research Organization. Geez, you couldn't have come up with a shorter name. Wako City, Saitama. Maho Hyajo had tried her best to hold back a yawn, but in the end, given up and opened her mouth so wide it covered well over half her face. One reason that she'd gotten caught up in talking to Chrissy last night, and only ended the conversation after it was late into the night. At first, they'd been discussing the research and experiments she'd been doing, but at some point, she'd gotten sidetracked into talking about Rintaro Okabe. Evidently, he'd been ignoring calls from Chrissy for the last few days. Chrissy was much madder at him than she was when he'd ignored her the first 8 times. It was the first sign of femininity that she'd ever seen from Chrissy Makise. It was cute enough that Maho couldn't help but take the chance to get back at her for all the teasing she always did. She ended up staying up a lot later than she'd intended. And since she was too energized to sleep by that point, she'd gotten out Chrissy's old laptop. She'd started to fiddle with it to see if there was some way to crack the password, and the next thing she knew, it was morning.
パスワードね。やっぱりプロにでも頼んだ
You're back 2.0, your internet cut out.
何の話だい？
She suddenly heard a verse behind her and almost jumped out of her chair.
そんなに驚くことないじゃないか。
教授、戻ってたんですか？
ついさっきね。
He raised up his hands and showed her some plastic bags from a nearby convenience store. Left to go get lunch just 10 minutes ago. And she'd been sure he wouldn't be back for a while.
それにしても日本のコンビニは食べ物の種類がいっぱいで本当に素晴らしいね。毎日違う弁当を食べても1週間もすればすぐに新しい弁当が出る。しかも店によっても味が違うから毎日コンビニでも飽きないよ。
コンビニのお弁当ばかり食べていると栄養偏りますよ。
それでもアメリカの食事に比べればかなりヘルシーだよ。
Everything is healthy compared to American food.
第一、食事についてのお説教だけは魔法には言われたくないね。
He was right. Nutrition was an important consideration for Maho. In fact, she ate mostly cereal and meal replacement shakes, which made her diet very unhealthy.
ところで何をプロに頼むって？
ああ、あれはその、なんでもないです。なんでも。
It wouldn't bother her if Leskinen found out. But for some reason, she'd suddenly decided not to tell him. That sounds like your diet.
私でできることなら力になるよ。
ありがとうございます。その時はお願いします。
She stood up and headed for the door.
マホ、どこへ行くんだい？
気分転換も兼ねて秋葉原に行こうかと。
気分転換で行くにしては随分遠いね。ウィンターローに会いに行くと素直に言えば許可しよう。
そんなんじゃ。
違うのかい？
ついでに会いに行ってもいいですけど。
Okabe had a laboratory in Akihabara. Chris had told her about that last night. She'd said something about how he'd been avoiding it for a long time, and only recently started going there again. Maho was a little interested in it too.
言っときますけど違いますからね。そういうのじゃないですからね。
私はまだ何も言ってないよ。
というわけで、今日は研究は休みます。
Irish Butler is rating with 9 viewers? Hello everyone, hello Irish, how was your stream? Deadbeard, if you're there, can we get a shout out for Irish Butler? Yes, how is everyone doing? My name is Popeye. We're playing some Steins Gate 0. We're playing Red Dead Redemption 2. Awesome. How did that go? Just a word of warning for people joining this stream. This is a game that has some pretty intense adult themes. That includes things such as murder, rape, death, dismemberment, torture.
Suspicious.
And I just want to make sure that if you are joining and that is not something for you, I will not feel offended if you go and find some other place to be. But but how is everyone doing? Candy, how are you doing? Brutal, stop that with those suspicious bits. Fox, how are you doing? Spartan, how are you here? And Deadbeard with the Kenobi. Thank you, Deadbeard. Yes, how is everyone doing? I guess I should give you a bit of information about this game. So Steins Gate. First of all, this is a sequel. If you want to see the original Steins Gate, you should watch that first. But we're playing the sequel, Steins Gate 0. Basically, we are a scientist who accidentally invented time travel. A bunch of things happened. We messed up some stuff in the past. I'm trying to be vague to avoid spoilers. And eventually we just decided, screw it, we can't deal with this anymore. We're just going to proceed with the mistakes we made and go from there. Yes, no worries, Spar. I understand this is not for everyone. Yeah, go find somewhere else that you'd rather be. I take no offense to it. I know it's not for everyone. But yeah, for those of you who are staying, we are currently playing as Maho, who is a scientist. Oh, what is... Candy, thank you for the host. Maho, who is a scientist from an American research center, and this gentleman in front of us is our boss. And we're about to go leave the office to go talk to one of the other main characters. When Popeye saw Brutal's bits, the voice in his head said, "I love when people throw bears at people." Perfect. First Chrisu and now the professor. Why did they keep trying to make everything about romance? Is this the exact storyline from the anime? Yes, this is the storyline from the anime from Steins Gate 0. I don't know what differences there are. Actually, I can speak to some of the differences. It has bad endings, which were not part of the anime. So in this run, we're trying to do all the endings, starting with all the bad endings, and then finishing with the good ending, which is what the anime would have finished with. So some of those parts would have been left out of the anime. Anyways, isn't that called sexual harassment these days? For one thing, she wasn't going to Okabe's lab just to visit him. She wanted to see him again, and see if she could get any hints about the password. He hadn't said he didn't know, but he'd probably be able to come up with more than just she could on her own. That was what she thought after seeing how he'd interacted with Amadeus. You could call it a woman's intuition. She was thinking about that when she changed trains and got off at Akihabara Station. She felt like someone was watching her and spun around. It was a weekday, but the station was crowded. Gotta love the true, good, neutral, and bad ending options. Yeah, this game, so I actually have on my other monitor, I have like an endings guide that I'm following, that basically, it doesn't give me anything other than on such and such, like, a date and time in the game, this choice will lead you down branch A, this choice will lead you down branch B. And from that, I know what all the endings are without any knowledge of what that ending means. Just that this ending is the bad ending, this ending is the good ending, but I have no idea, like, what makes it bad. I did a tiny bit of research, because in the first game there was one ending that was so bad I had to look into it. So this goes back on some of those trigger warnings, but basically there's an ending where the guy who invents the time machine is just like, well, I can just go back in time, so I can just do bad stuff infinitely. And there's one thing he does where it's just like, yeah, I could see this being a real trigger for a bunch of people. So I did look into that one first to see if it was something I was willing to air on stream, and we did in fact go ahead with it, but there have been some pieces like that I have had to look into. She whispered to no one in particular. She started to walk again. Chris had told her the location of the future gadget lab. She wasn't that familiar with the layout of Akihabara, but if she needed to, she could ask for directions. What if she came in unannounced and Okabe wasn't there? That bothered her a little, but she decided she could just leave if that happened. Her eyes lingered on the junk parts lined up in the bins at the shops as she walked, when... Yes, I know I stream... Yeah, because you're, what, probably 6 hours ahead of me? That's my guess. So that would make this, what, 4:30 a.m. for... Why are you awake? No, if you were to start watching this, you'd start with Steins Gate. Okay, so this is part of a series called the Science Adventure series, which is broken up into 3 parts. Chaos Head, Steins Gate, and Robotics Notes. Robotics Notes is completely different from the others. You can watch that without watching the others. There's some stuff in Chaos Head that kind of ties over to Steins Gate, but not really, and in my opinion, Chaos Head is not super great. So if you're starting, you'd start with Steins Gate, and then you'd do Steins Gate 0. I feel like they had a thing with side stories at some point. That's not important. But yeah, you'd start with Steins Gate, and then do Steins Gate 0. Because the games are built around multiple endings, basically this sequel has to follow one of the endings of the first game or the first anime. So you'd watch that first, and then you'd come to this, and it's kind of a sequel in that sense. It's one of the possible sequels, as it were. You took a nap from 11 to 3 p.m., so you're not all that tired. No problem, Brutal. She felt someone looking at her again, but when she turned around, she didn't see anyone. She started walking again, and then went around a corner into an alley. And then, she was sure of it. Footsteps. She could hear them behind her. Of course, that was nothing special. She would often be out walking at night and hear footsteps behind her. She'd speed up her pace, only to see an irritated man walk past a moment later. But this time, for some reason, she was sure it wasn't that. She decided to try walking faster, and found the footsteps went faster too. When she went slower, so did they. Whenever she saw a scene like that in a movie, she imagined that she'd just kick the guy in the face. Now that was actually happening, she was too scared to turn around. She fumbled for the phone in her pocket. The idea of calling the police never occurred to her. The only thing she thought of was the name of the man she was trying to meet. She picked it out of her call history and pressed the button with trembling fingers. Oh, cool cell phone. It's that famous brand everyone remembers, the Wokia. It's what the woke generation uses. The footsteps overlapped at the sound of the ringing. The footsteps were almost on top of her. Just when she couldn't take it anymore and was about to start running, she heard a voice coming from the other side of the phone. You always wanted a Wokia? But she didn't get to say another word. By the time she'd realized that someone had grabbed her from behind, the phone had already slipped from her hands. And now he transitioned to the guy she was just calling. I think we jumped ahead a few days also. I think we were on the 17th. You also can't see the date because it's hidden behind my head. I asked Moeka Kiryu as I took the papers she offered me silently. She'd contacted Daru just 10 minutes ago and told him she was on her way to the lab. Wokia, the phone will be fine. She'd arrived right at the time she said she would. She must have been very close when she'd contacted him. What was she going to do if no one was here? Evidently, it was a report about her investigation thus far. The stack of papers was shaking a little in my hands. I still felt some unease when Moeka was in my presence. Maybe it was just because of the anxiety meds I'd taken right after she'd said she was coming. I was still doing a lot better than yesterday. She must have been expecting something, at least a little. There was no obvious tone of disappointment in her voice. No way to answer her. I just silently flipped through the pages of the report. This game has a thing for emphasizing certain portions of a woman. We just refer it as looking at their eyes. It also gets really weird considering some of the girls are still in high school, and I have to be like, no, game, no, just... In fact, oh, can I pull up the converse? Oh, I can't pull up my cell phone in game. But we had a conversation with one of the characters where he's like, hey, what color swimsuit is the best on high school girls? And I just had to be like, why is this a conversation in this game? What are you thinking about? What led you to this conversation? Like, why? Why is this a thing? She looks smart. Intelligence is very important. handed the report over to Suzuha without complaint. I pointed to the part that interested me with my
調査
finger.
の中で一つ興味深い事実が浮かび上がった。この 1,2 ヶ月の間で椎名かがりという名の女性を探している人物が私たち以外にも存在するらしいということ。
Suspicious.
Deadbeard! You stop that, first of all. Thank you for gifting a sub to breasts. I mean, eyes. Thank you for gifting a sub to eyes. You know, I was looking through just like my list of all-time subscribers at one point, and just the joke ones that were on the list. Someone had gifted a sub to like the Juggler or to Uncle Beard, and like just like, aw. There is also a trap character in this game, Brutal.
どういうこと？読んだままの通り。
Which meant... we're getting a phone call? Oh, this is the phone call we had just... Probably the one we just, had. Normally I just ignore her and call later, but...
悪い。ちょっといいか。
Okay, story time. So... This is actually cool music for story time. I had a bunch of friends. I won't list their names because some of them might be known to you and I don't have their permission. But we thought it would be funny because we were all men with long beards to crossplay at the local anime convention. And I had at least one moment where someone was taking a picture of me in a full dress. And this guy is coming up from behind me, and I see it just in, like, the side of my vision as he, like, looks at me, and then just, like, does a double take, and is like, oh gosh, that's a guy. So, yes. I know that feeling, Deadbeard. Also, another fun story is, Fire Swamp, who often play with Mim when we do the Sunday streams. I don't even know how he found this, but someone had stolen a picture of me from Instagram. Someone had Instagrammed a picture of me in my cosplay, and they had stolen it and were using it as a model image on a website for women's clothing. I have no words for this. I don't understand. Picture this in a dress trying to sell women's clothing. I don't know. I can only assume their business went under very quickly. No, I did not get paid. The website got taken down a couple months later, because I can't remember, I was trying to show it to someone else, and it was like, huh, it's just gone now. So I'm guessing they just got taken down because it was a scam, but... that was funny.
もしもし。
もしもし岡部さん、私ヒアジョーです。
She sounded on the verge of panic, and my voice naturally rose to match
どう
hers.
したヒアジョーさん。
今あなたのラボのすぐ近くまで。
Immediately afterward, I heard what sounded like a struggle, and then something hitting something else.
ヒアジョーさん。ヒアジョーさん。どうした？
And then there was only silence. Beautiful. Yeah, that does sound like only beards. From the tone of her voice, it was obvious something bad had happened.
知り合いが誰かに襲われてる。
マジ？知り合いって誰？
But I didn't stay to answer his question. I grabbed the nearest thing that could serve as a weapon and ran out of the lab. Oh, please let it be hilariously funny. What did we grab? She said that she was close to the lab. She was coming from the station and had chosen a route that not many people would go down. She was probably the alley directly in front of the lab. I saw someone there. They were tall and slender. I could see a tiny silhouette struggling behind them. That was... I knew it. The only girl that size was Maho. And then you have characters like this, where she looks like she's 12, but she's actually 21. Someone had grabbed her, and she was trying desperately to escape. Gets in his beard? Is that like a Flintstones car now? Person who was holding her turned in my Wait, are we just holding a lightsaber? Well, apparently the weapon of choice is a lightsaber. I'm not going to disagree with him there. Sorry, lightsaber is trademarked. This is a psionic beam sword. Fluorescent marinolate. I mean, if it's a marinolate, that puts a whole different meaning to the forces in you. It's been in you all along. It surrounds us, penetrates us. Oh man. It's only then that I realized it was a woman, and that she wasn't Japanese. Thank you for the link to Sexy Obi-Wan. Did she not understand me? No, but you should have been able to guess what I was getting at. I tried to strike a threatening pose with my weapon in hand. I finally realized what I brought was the Klai Lume Saber. Okay. They actually have a name for it. I'm impressed. It is a fantastic anime. It's probably in my top 10. The way I would describe it is it's like a drama psychological thriller. If you like psychological thrillers, that being said, there, like I said with the trigger warnings, there's talks of like rape, gore, just straight depictions of like murder. So it's definitely for mature audiences, but it is still in my top 10. So anyway, similar to Full Metal Alchemist and Miriaki Nikki, that's Future Diary. Full Metal Alchemist, kind of. Full Metal Alchemist, basically, more or less, it's around the kids who make a mistake and are trying to figure out how to like undo it and or move past it. This is very similar, I would say, in that sense, where basically he screws up the past and he's trying to figure out how to use time travel to fix it. The like gore level in Future Diaries is probably about on par with the gore on this. Trying to think. I think Future Diaries in terms of plot doesn't have as much similarities, but it's got like that same, I guess, level of intensity. Tokyo Ghoul. I never watched the anime for that. I read some of the manga. It's, I guess, more actiony than this is. Yeah. Yeah, no worries. if you're looking for stuff like that, the other one I always recommend to people, and we've been playing through it on this channel, is Higurashi. Oh, Corpse Party. Yeah, Corpse Party has been one that I've been looking at. If you liked Corpse Party, Higurashi is in the same vein. I think it's even by the same developers. But the gist of Higurashi is there's a kid who comes to this remote village in 1983, I think it is, Japan, and makes friends with all these people in his school, and then they go insane and murder each other. And it's just a series of different arcs about different people going insane and killing each other, and you're trying to figure out, based on these snippets of like 4 to 6 episodes, what causes it, why does it happen, stuff like that. It is my all-time favorite anime. I've been playing through it on stream. We even had an in-depth bit of some of the music in it at one point. So I'll always recommend that to people. But yeah, if you like Corpse Party, I would recommend that. Corpse Party is similar. I guess it has more of the occult in it. Yeah. I have to do one thing for Higurashi. So Higurashi recently, it had done 4 seasons, and it had been finished for a while, and they've only very recently released 2 new seasons. Go and Sotsu. Go, some people, when it came out, said it was a reboot. It is not a reboot. Don't start with there. Start with the original from late 2000s, 2006, 2008, whenever it is. That's where you should start with it. Even more than some of these other ones, it has the most gore. It has some of the most heartbreaking things I've seen, just like straight up torture of children. It has a very, very real depiction of what a child who has gone through physical abuse from a parent looks like. So if you were going to take a look at that, be warned, it is incredibly real, and I give props to them for doing their research. Prior to my current job, I used to work with children at a summer camp, and one of the things I had to be trained in was, what does it look like if a child has been physically abused at home? What are the signs of that? What are, like, reactions they have? How might they hide certain behaviors, hide certain emotions? How would they exhibit certain tics? Things like that. And Higurashi does it spot on for one of those character arcs. So, very large trigger warning on that. It may be too real for some people, but it does it well. Yeah, that's, I guess, my rant on psych horror kinds of stuff. Yeah, it's the kind of thing, I know it's not for everyone. A lot of the horror stuff I do on stream and talk about, I know is not for everyone, and I try to give accurate trigger warnings at the start when people join. Because I know there's some things certain people are not okay with, and I want everyone to feel secure and safe with what they're consuming. But yeah. Yeah, so yes, the 2006-2007 one. So for that one, you just need to watch seasons 1 and 2. Those are the core ones, which is Higurashi no Nakokoro ni and Higurashi no Nakokoro ni Kai. Those are the main ones. The 3rd season, Hooray, is side stories. There's only one of them that's really good. The others are absolute trash. And season 4, Kira, don't even bother with it. It is just straight fan service. You can skip season 4. Season 3, like, I don't know, maybe you want to watch it. It's not something you need to watch. And then you can jump to not the current season that's airing, but the one previous, which is Go, the 5th season, and then Sotsu, which is just about to air, and they've just been releasing new official artwork of that just in the past couple weeks. Yes, fan service. You know, things like dressing the main character as a guy up in a dress, a harem episode, just things like that. If you watch the opening for season 4 of Higurashi for Kira, the theme song is literally about like being happy and go lucky, and it just looks like kids having fun. They're running about a field of sunflowers, they're walking past a babbling brook and all this, and people watch that and then are like, I'm gonna watch this anime. And the opening scene of the first episode of the first season is literally a dude bashing in someone's head with a baseball bat. So yeah. It's kind of a weird thing to see.
もう一度言うぞ、その子を。
違うの、岡部さん。
It wasn't like what? The woman let go of Maho and smiled. She walked toward me with arms open wide.
Maho's boyfriend?
はあ、ちょ。
Before I could ask what was going on, she'd wrapped her hands around my back. Prison School. No, I've not heard of that one. I recently just finished I finished reading a manga, what's it called? Alice's Country, which is very gory, but basically the gist of it is people are put in this world of Japan in the future where you have to play these death games to survive, and they're pretty brutal, and basically someone's gonna die in more or less every game, and it only extends your life for like a couple days, maybe a week or two tops. It was really good. I just finished reading that literally yesterday. And it was pretty good. That was recommended to me by a friend. One of them has very, very large eyes. I had no idea what the hell was going on, but 2 soft eyes pressed into my chest kept me from moving.
それじゃあ、この人はヒアジョーさんの知り合いなのか？
ごめんなさい。私が早とちりしたせいで。
I'm Judy Reyes. Pleasure meeting you, Mr. Okabe.
The woman, named Judy Reyes, offered me her hand, her broad smile like the sun itself. Which one for science?
日本語でいいわよ。
教授って日本語喋れたんですか？
ええ、実はね。
知らなかった。でもどうして？
女も私くらいの年になるといろいろあるのよ。
Her mischievous wink looked pretty good on her.
それじゃあ改めて。
Show us the mischievous wink.
ジュディ・レイエスよ。よろしくね。
I returned her handshake.
岡部倫太郎です。
レイエス教授は今度日本で開かれる AI 関係の学会に出席するために来日したんですって。
教授っていうことはビクトル・コンドリア大学に？
サイコフィシオロジーを研究してるわ。
サイコフィ…
精神生理学のことよ。つまり脳の活動によってもたらされる心の働きとか心の病気なんかについての研究をされているの。そういう意味では 私たちの研究よりもずっと人の役に立つ研究をされていると言っていいかもしれないわね。
そんなことないわ。あなたたちのアマデウスだってこれからの発展次第では十分に役に立つ技術になるわよ。
そう言っていただけると嬉しいです。
In short, Dr. Ace had happened to see Maho on the streets of Akihabara, and decided to surprise her by grabbing her from behind. A defense that will probably not hold up in court.
人が悪いですよ。駅からつけてくるなんて。
つける？魔法？私が？
ええ、後ろをついてきてましたよね、ずっと。
そんなことしてないわ。私はさっきそこのショップでたまたま魔法を見つけたからちょっと驚かそうと思っただけよ。
え
Maho had only just relaxed when Dr. Ace's answer drained her face of its color.
ヒアジョーさん、つけられていたのか？
ええ、確かにそう感じたんだけど。
See, I haven't even started Fairy Tail. I'm at the point where I don't have time to watch these long series where it's like, oh, it's only like 200, 400 episodes in already. You can catch up. I don't have time for that.
レイエス教授、誰か怪しい。
Same with the Fate series. I watched one of this series and that was enough for me. Don't have time to watch all, like, what is it, like 6 or 7 that are out now? Dr. Ace denied it with that unique shrug that foreigners always do. I looked back over the alley, but of course I didn't see anyone.
じゃあ、私の勘違いだったのかしら。
きっとそうだわ。だって日本は世界一治安のいい国でしょ。
Was it?
魔法はこの後どうするの？
私は。
Ray seemed to sense something in Maho's silence.
なるほど、そういうこと。それじゃあ私は行くわね。ウィンタルもそのうちゆっくり話しましょう。バイ。
Why did they feel the need to show us the small of her back? She gave me a meaningful wink as she left. The station was in the opposite direction. Could I have said something? I got a strange sense that was feeling me out. It seemed like a waste of time to resist. Just remember, don't resist being felt out by
というわけ
someone.
で彼女がヒアジョーさんだ。ほら、前にセミナーで会ったって話したことがあっただろ。
お騒がせしてごめんなさい。
I ended up taking Maho back to the lab, where everyone was waiting for my return. Suzuha had actually gone out once to look for me, but evidently by the time I was already gone.
ま、でも何事もなくてよかった。
After I gave an introduction and explanation, everyone let out a sigh of relief. Maho seemed to want to ask a lot of questions about the lab, but I had something I had to finish first. And speaking of finishing, I think that's where I'm going to call this stream for today. So yeah,